Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. The podcast where we shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and business owners here in our community. I'm your host, Craig Whipperman, with Music City Action Coach, and today we're excited to introduce to you someone who is blazing a trail in the world of architecture here in Nashville. Our guest is Jamie Pfeffer. He's a partner at Pfeffer Torode. We'll dive into Jamie's background, explore the challenges he's faced, and the successes he's celebrated. Whether you're a fellow entrepreneur, an aspiring business owner, or someone who simply loves to support local businesses, this conversation is sure to inspire and inform. So with that, without further ado, let's welcome Jamie to the podcast. Jamie, welcome to the Business Spotlight.
Great, Craig. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so share with the community here and some of the viewers a little bit of your history. How did you end up in architecture, and what you guys are currently doing now?
Sure. So, grew up in Nashville. Always wanted to practice architecture. Was fascinated by it. Went to school. Ended up kind of collecting a range of degrees and experiences, kind of architecture, interior architecture, construction. I went kind of on internships and different things, kind of collecting experiences. So lived in New York and Boston, and then ultimately moved down to South America, where I first kind of went out on my own and started working on projects, and always with the goal of collecting ideas, experiences to bring back to my hometown of Nashville. And so came back home in 2010 and started Pfeffer Torode at that time.
Oh, awesome. So that was the founding of Pfeffer Torode. They weren't the Torode. Are there brothers Torodes?
Yes.
Yeah. So they weren't in business before then. The three of you guys came together and put it together.
Correct. A little bit of the brief background there is Jonathan Torode and I met during school, and kind of instead of working on our class projects, we would talk about the firm we were going to have one day, and then while we were all working at McAlpin, I got introduced to his older brother, and so the three of us became close. And so as opportunity presented itself, we were able to kind of form our partnership again about 15, coming in on 15 years ago.
15 years. That's a pretty good life there. That's you guys have been in business that long, so you've been around enough to establish a name for yourself and get a reputation.
Sure. It's it's a process. I think about the early days of kind of the firm, quote unquote, the firm. And in the early days of the firm, even if we knew kind of we wanted to work together and we had kind of certain kind of ambitions on our horizons, 15 years ago, the firm was me sitting in a bedroom at my home, and kind of doing the things you do when you're starting off a firm. We were working on garage additions and anything to kind of start that trajectory, and was very fortunate that even those kind of small projects started gaining certain notoriety, certain acclaim, certain appreciation, and allowed us to really kind of lean into kind of being kind of a real kind of design forward, service forward, full service architecture practice. And so, from that, kind of step by step, kind of able to kind of climb the design ladder. And today we have over 60 associates in 4 offices, Chattanooga, Birmingham, Montgomery, in addition to kind of Nashville, and work on a range of both custom high-end residential and boutique commercial projects. I'd like to think the unifying thread is kind of something where design is part of the ROI. Design is part of the kind of full value and appreciation of the project, and so it allows us to apply kind of what we think is a very kind of thoughtful, conscientious approach to bring kind of use those design skills and abilities to bring meaning and value and purpose for our clients in their built environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, growing from designing garages to now custom residential, that's quite a
Sure. So
journey.
I mean, again, it's, some of those leaps kind of happen quickly. We had kind of a great pedigree of working on, really kind of bespoke homes and kind of tailored kind of projects. But when you're starting your own firm and starting on those basis, and back in 2010, on the heels of the Great Recession kind of thing, it was, time everybody was trying to understand exactly what real estate was. Turned out it was a great time to kind of start the firm because we were able to really establish ourselves in those moments and really work on some amazing projects as that real estate marketplace kind of really blossomed in Nashville over the last 15 years. And so today we are working on, we work on a number of bespoke custom homes for clients. We're fortunate to work with, really discerning clients who appreciate kind of complete projects that are very kind of thoughtful and thorough in their ambition and execution. And then I would say another thing that we've kind of really observed is, when we started off, we always kind of modeled this ability to kind of work on both commercial and residential. And I think in some regards it was, the parts of it was kind of a business decision, in terms of being able to have kind of a broad base and be able to kind of serve a number of project types and offer a number of asset classes and get into different conversations. But what has really turned out is we've seen kind of the merging of those two veins ever increasingly in the last 15 years. And what I would say is notably, I think people in the commercial space, they want their spaces to feel increasingly like home. They want those
Hmm.
subtle touch points, the tactile qualities, the details, the nuance. They want them executed at a very high level. And then I think people on the residential side, they want large glass walls. They want spaces that flow inside to outside. They want spaces that live kind of boldly and confidently. And so things that we would often see kind of in a commercial space. And so, I think we've really seen kind of a very strong kind of merging. And so, we have just kind of a trained and somewhat inherent kind of understanding of both of those disciplines and how they kind of come together. And it's really positioned us well for this environment that we're in right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I can't help but when you describe that, think about the effects that the pandemic had on society. Where people they were heck. It's very interesting. People needed to move because they didn't have a place. Maybe they didn't have a comfortable place to do their business and have quote have an office at home, but they were limited into how they could move in the pandemic. So that's somewhat of a challenge. But did the pandemic
Greg, I
have?
think it's very astute.
Hmm.
We do. I'm fascinated with sociology, psychology, and those
Hmm.
kind of pieces, and you see how generations and demographics kind of move and evolve. And I think a lot of things on design are on a spectrum. A lot of things we're doing have ties for the way mankind has lived for millennia in certain aspects, but you see sort of certain patterns in certain places. And so, I do think the pandemic had amazing effects. And I think I think there's a few kind of threads that are really kind of critical and will affect us for a while to come. One is, I think as people were kind of, limited or kind of trapped in for a little bit.
Hmm.
One, they sort of said, okay, well, I want to go out. I want to go experience these great things. I want to go do those when the restrictions lift. I want to go live in those great places or see those great things. And so it has meant that we've seen kind of, we work on a number of boutique hotels or chef-driven restaurants, things like that. They want these experiences they were kind of kept away from for a long time. So they're going to seek these experiential kind of moments. Two is they start looking around saying, well, I want to have these great experiences also in my own home and my own space. And so, looking around and it's probably only enhanced by having Instagram or all these other great tools in your pocket all the time, allowing you to travel and see so many things and saying, I don't want to just experience them on my screen in front of me. I want to experience them in my surrounding, in my space. And so I do think we see people wanting to live in those kind of great experiences. And then I think we also see it kind of in the workplace. If we have great experiences, we want to go experience, we think about it from a hospitality, food and beverage kind of standpoint, or we're going to have great homes that we're going to kind of dwell in. It puts all the more pressure on the work environment or some of those other spaces being compelling enough to say, we're going to draw this out, and the world has changed. We don't have to work in the same way. And so what are those discretionary decisions? And I think design is a great discretionary decision. You can choose how you want to inhabit those spaces. You can choose how you want to live. And so, making spaces that are substantive, meaningful, lastingful, that are inspiring. I think it's sort of, it speaks to the great transformative power of design and its impact on the built environment.
Yeah, no question. So as you describe that, and the influence of design in people's lives, I think about everybody working from home, and now leadership in companies, expecting that to kind of come to an end, and more people showing up in the office. And I think about commercial real estate, especially, downtown. Well, you hear in some big cities, New York, I think they're still suffering, but in Nashville they're not. But I'm curious, is it influencing, do you think, office space as well to make it more welcoming and enjoying for people to be motivated to come back to work? Have you seen that trend as well?
Well, I think absolutely. I mean, I think you have to, I think we will continue to see kind of a great reset in terms of what people are expecting out of their work experience. I think whether it is, if it is about collaboration and dialogue, then how does the space support that? If we have more phone calls and more kind of out-of-person meetings, how does the conference room evolve into the pod to handle those kind of pieces? What are the effects of those things? And I think anything that you do that makes you more intentional, more purposeful is a good thing. And I think if we are more purposeful with the way we live, more purposeful with the way we work, and more purposeful with the way we relax, then we're going to produce better spaces. And so, our mantra for our slogan for our firm is places of life. And we think it's intentionally kind of, places of life and everyday beauty. And we think it's very important that, those places are beautiful and purposeful.
Yeah. Right. So from an architectural services perspective, maybe you can walk a novice like myself through, how do you engage with a client? How do you find a client? How do you engage with them? How do you deliver their service, just from a 50,000-foot level?
Sure. And I think with, I'm sure there are a number of different models. For our model, we try to be a bespoke service provider. And so, the heart of our work is reliant on repeat and referral work. And I think many service operators do that, but we're not out advertising, marketing, doing those kind of pieces. We are fortunate that our work product is a very visual medium, and so things get out, as things are out there through different kind of platforms and things that occur, it becomes a great kind of calling card. But fortunately, a lot of those calls and intakes are kind of incoming, and so we're very fortunate. We have a great kind of following and track record, and so that from that level, that's where the projects come in. From a process standpoint, I think we're always trying to, I think with any individual in any organization, always striving to kind of improve and evaluate and be self-reflective on it. So we tried to kind of continue to kind of refine our process. And I think the architecture industry, one of my sayings is, I think I think the world would benefit, quite frankly, from more architects. And I think when I say that, it's the idea that architects we're trained. We can't be told every design solution is not a pattern or those kind of things. It's a methodology. It's a way of thinking. It's a
Mm,
way of trying to apply thought analysis and look for solutions to the yet unsolved problem, the yet unsolved request. And so I think it's a methodology that is very meaningful and beneficial. But the problem I say with architecture firms is they have too many architects in them. And what I mean by that is it becomes very insular in our, we kind of talk about things and you start using your jargon, you start using these kind of pieces. And I think you can, remove yourself if you're not careful. And we try to be very careful not to do this, but to remove yourself from that kind of client experience, understanding kind of where they're at. And so we've really kind of worked hard to kind of take our process out of kind of the industry jargon kind of phases and terms and those kind of things, and really talk about as we have that opportunity, that lead, that project come to our door, that we talk about how, let's first gather information. Let's understand the project, understand the clients, understand their goals, their ambitions, and really view it as kind of a gathering, bringing us an understanding of those kind of goals and ambitions. And then we can kind of start working on a schema and just the idea of what is the idea? What is the essence of this project? What can we do? How can we kind of put a thesis around this? And then as we get that schema kind of aligned and we're achieving kind of the owner's ambitions with it, then we can develop that schema. So we kind of develop that idea, work through kind of at a deeper, higher level. And then if everything is kind of holding firm and our assumptions are proving true, then we can kind of document that design solution. And so we kind of document, very thoroughly with drawings and specifications, kind of what the essence of the project is, so it can be successfully achieved in construction. And so then we're into the construction phase, and we're the client's advocate through the entirety of that project. So going from blank paper through the construction, kind of process. And so, and then at the end, we try to repeat this sort of gather phase again, where we try to gather feedback on the process, gather results from the building. Maybe they had certain goals and objectives with the building. How well did their design solutions achieve those goals and objectives? Gather maybe photography, gather, references, all those kind of pieces. And it kind of completes that circle again. If we're based on this idea of repeat referral work, then, you want that gather to kind of take you to the next project and kind of be, that much better, that much more experienced for the next project.
yeah, that's awesome. I've often thought of architecture as like a place where, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always thought of it as a place where art meets science.
Mm.
There's a creativity to it, but it's got to be buildable. It's got to be doable. And I mean, the way you've described what you do, it's like you're capturing ideas from a client and then working him through the birth of the idea into something that can actually be built and hopefully satisfy their dreams or their visions and hit the target.
No, I think it's I think it is a balance of art and science. I think you want to again, I think through this design process, we want to understand and really listen to the client's kind of goals and objectives, and hopefully just be kind of the hand through which their ideas are being manifested out. They have these ideas and they need, and we want to help them express them. And I think it's beautiful to express them on paper. And I think some of that can be kind of the art form, but
Mm-hmm.
to put them into the built environment where they can, live them, breathe them, and kind of influence the broader kind of community at large is, again, there's just there is a science to just executing projects and executing something that has kind of those higher aspirations into a built environment. And I'm fascinated with the idea of, I think that creative act is a noble and worthy act to create something that is worthy of trying to stand the test of time.
Yeah, no question. And so in the last phase, during the construction phase, when you guys serve as the advocate, um, Do you work alongside the construction team, or do you oversee and project manage the construction
Sure.
team?
I'm a big fan of what I would call the construction tripod.
Hmm.
And to me, that is ownership, design, and construction. And think about them as a tripod. And the
Hmm.
beauty of a tripod, it's a very, very stable shape. It provides great balance. It can navigate, slopes and challenges and different kind of pieces because of that inherent shape. If you think about why they survey with a tripod, because it can navigate those kind of pieces, but also because they work best in a certain degree of, I say tension. And what I mean by that is, we want to be a great partner and everybody works together. They have to work in unison, but you have to kind of work together. You have to establish these kind of project goals and you have to kind of, and then work as a group to do them. We can have a beautiful design, but if it doesn't, if we don't know how we're going to construct it, we don't know how we're going to craft it, then it can't be built. We can have great craft, but if we don't understand the impact on the dollars and the budget and that process, then it won't be built. If we can have, all the budget, but if we take too long getting there, then the opportunity may have passed or the opportunity cost may be lost. And so, always seeking alignment between, those, design and craft and budget and schedule is critical for it. And so we want to be a great partner with our great construction friends and use their skill sets and abilities to again execute something that again is, we've talked about it, worthy of standing the test of time.
Mhm.
And so I think in those moments, it is a partnership and it is a mutual partnership between the owner, architect, and design team in general and the contractor to achieve it. And if you don't have that kind of equilibrium and you don't have that kind of working together to form it, then it won't be successful. The project will not live up to its potential. So we try to have a great relationship. And it's also why I have I got my master's in construction, not because I'm a builder, not because I'm in that space, but because I very much appreciate um how great those guys are at what they do and to approach it with how can we provide the drawings and support to achieve greatness in the built in the final built product.
Right. So, yeah, having describing it that way, having a three-pronged, well, like you said, a tripod. I would imagine that you've developed great relationships with contractors, and you've probably got go-to folks that you work with. But the customer changes from time to time. Well, every project the customer changes, I guess, unless you've got repeat business. Um, have you come across challenging customers who say one thing, mean another, uh, maybe are hard to kind of rein in on a vision? How do you work with those types of customers?
Um, I, we, I, the, the customers are the key for us to be successful, with what we do. And so I think um, again, I think I mentioned earlier, have a fascination for psychology, sociology, those kind of things. We try to really, we try to talk about with our team and work on training to how we can kind of listen, how we can understand, we can kind of be empathetic with it and try to understand that like, you know, we may have certain experiences or kind of terminology or things that we can bring to bear, but if we can't communicate it to the client, then we're not going to be able to kind of extract their vision for the project as effectively. So I don't know. I mean, succinctly saying, I think that we have, like, no, our clients are, you know, become kind of the patrons and they come to us because hopefully we can communicate, using our tools, both language, drawings, and materials and technique and all those kind of things to create their kind of vision. So I think, I'm sure there are times when, you finesse the process and you do different things. And again, we really focus on communication, listening. I mean, I think those are the keys to it because the client has come to us. I mean, this is not, for the kind of projects we work on, these are not, these are choices, these are options. People have the option. They're pursuing this project from a choice. They're not having to come see us to do this. This is not the required thing. This is a discretionary choice. And so they're coming to us with a purpose. And so I think it's incumbent on us to try to extract and understand that purpose. And so I don't, I think we enjoy that discovery and that interaction with client.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hearing you say extracting and understanding purpose is a differentiator for you.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I think, I think, look, we want to be, very kind of custom. All of our designs are unique design solutions. And so that affords us the opportunity to, work with clients who are looking for unique solutions. And we kind of align on that goal of, trying to, quantify the yet unquantified element. And so, I think that's kind of, so we want to use that. And we think our best tools and techniques are using kind of the design experiences we have to apply them. And so we want to use, we want to do that. And so the ability to kind of create a unique design is in part understanding the unique characteristics of each and every client. And so I think it's sort of one of those, like, it's a very fulfilling thing, because the thing that makes us most excited is a looking for that unique solution. And so if we can understand the inherent uniqueness about it, the client and their project goals, then it affords us the opportunity to do something more unique. And those are kind of both mutually self-fulfilling, self-perpetuating kind of goals. And quite frankly, why they chose to do a project. Construction projects are difficult. They're time consuming. They're wrought with challenges. So we want everybody to be really passionately excited about the why for this project.
Right. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I can sense your passion for filling that space, and providing that type of service. So you have, I think I heard you say you have 60 employees now.
Yeah, we have just over 60 associates in
Right.
different offices.
Yeah. And when you say associates, associate designers, is that right?
Sure. So across the fold, we have both architecture and interior design. Inside of that, we're going to have things that have subsets and different pieces. I think a good architecture project is going to touch a lot of different disciplines, and I think a lot of times the architect is tasked. And I think we want to strive for complete projects. And so to me, that's something where you can't tell where the landscape stops and the architecture begins, where the architecture stops, the interior architecture begins, where the interior design begins, those kind of pieces. You want a project that just flows and feels complete. And so we love to be kind of the captain of that team, of that broader design team. And so one is, it means we have a number of disciplines inside of our staff and a number of expertise to do it. But then if you're talking about it, there are a lot of scheduling and communications and all these kind of pieces that come together. And so we try to one thing that as we think about the size, like, I never want to compete on a project because of our size, but it allows us to provide defined teams of experts to advocate for your project at a given time. But what it does is it allows us to have, the specialists and all the resources and things, so that you can get that kind of best practice. So we can see those other examples, those other projects. We can have great project administration, great project accounting, great, all these other support kind of pieces for it, so that each blade in this kind of knife block is really sharp and capable of doing what they do really well. And we can tailor your project with the skills and skill sets required to be successful for that project. So we work with very small teams, but we use those other resources to try to focus on what we think is providing the best service we can for this process.
Okay. And then the those associates, they're distributed throughout what I think each of your 4 offices. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what have you had a hard time finding talent, as everyone else has, or is that kind of calmed down now and supporting
No,
growth?
we've, I've never, we've never felt, um, talent constrained, or we have an amazing, team, very talented team. Um, you know, we've been able to, our team does an excellent job of, recruitment and retention. And so I feel like we're in a special place where we get to, I think we get to attract and work with some of the very best and brightest. And I think we have, a structure. We try to have, like I said, we try to utilize the benefits of, in architecture, 60 something is considered a bigger firm. I don't know of many professions where that's considered a big firm. But then we try to behave and operate projects like a small firm. And so what I mean by that is we try to have like that kind of passion and commitment and that intimacy with the project that you're working on, but then the support and resources of a larger firm so that you can, really apply your discrete skill sets to the betterment of the project in that way. And so I think, what it does in many ways is, it becomes kind of a collective of entrepreneurs of sorts, people who are passionately dedicated to their projects, understanding their solutions, utilizing kind of the broader experience and expertise of the whole to create kind of these really kind of, great outcomes for clients and ourselves alike. So, yeah, I think that's, so I don't feel, talent constrained. I think some of the geography again allows us to, pull talent from a number of different geographies, better service projects in a number of different geographies. But I think also with the way the world's moved, we're working outside of those marketplaces as well. And I think, the technology and the skill sets and the methodologies allow us to kind of work in a number of different environments. And we've been successful in doing that as well. But it allows people to kind of work in their own environment and their own kind of things that work. And some of these places have just kind of great design pedigree and individuals with great design talents.
Right. So yourself and your partners in the leadership roles that you have in the company, I'm curious, I would imagine your retention is pretty high. And what is it that you guys are doing to drive culture in your organization, or providing an environment, a workplace environment for people to thrive and enjoy, so that you can benefit from their their ongoing loyalty?
Sure. So we have, a very clearly defined core purpose. From that, we articulated kind of clearly defined core values. And then we kind of try to, build all of our other kind of processes and methodologies off of our core purpose, off of our core values. And so as we do our, annual reviews, we tie employee performance and things back to our core values, and what have they embodied, about our core values, and how they epitomize kind of those core values, where have they excelled in that capacity. When we try to talk about what a project meeting minute should look like, or what delivery should stand for, and it's all built on that kind of chassis and through that lens. And so we feel like, each of those pieces is, a building block and stepping on the shoulders of the previous idea, or digging deeper into into that sphere. And so, so I do think, culture, matters a great deal, and we spend a lot of time, thinking about and trying to articulate and reiterate our firm culture.
Yeah, it's great to hear you talk like that. A lot of companies kind of take it for granted, but you definitely have to be very intentional about it, and use it. throughout the organization, and so that you can track, just like what you were talking about, so you can trace everything that you're doing back to your core values, and how effective that is as a method for running a business
Yeah.
is underappreciated, I think.
It's a great mirror, you know,
Mhm.
if you feel like you have you have something that didn't, achieve its desired result in some, the in a fiscal sense, or in a, in any of these kind of elements, it's, if you can go back and really look at it through the lens of those core values, and you can talk about it, a lot of the great tools, a lot of the great things that we've learned are just kind of, again, looking at it through that lens and sort of saying, okay, well, if we if we value these things, then how do we spend our time? How does our time and our allocation of time manifest our belief in those things? If we think those are important, then how have our time and efforts responded to that? And again, that mirror is very truth telling, and so we've tried to kind of honor that truth.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about the convergence of commercial and residential, and how that's kind of manifested, and then your business model, and how you guys are getting clients is primarily from a referral base, and the culture that you, as we just shared, and your ability to retain and actually recruit top talent. What are the pain points in your business right now? What are the challenges that you're either experiencing or that you foresee? Um, where is it that you have to spend special time or effort to resolve an issue?
Sure, I think we um we feel really you know great in general. I mean, I think there's always kind of that self-critique about sort of, hey, how do we further you know manifest our values? How do we continue to kind of train? How do we kind of lean in? But when we have kind of you know we have just an amazing group of clients, we have amazing group of teammates, we have people who are passionately engaged. A lot of that stuff becomes a lot of that stuff becomes very easy, and so it's facilitating. I think about kind of providing the platform for everybody to kind of to achieve these great heights from, and kind of jump from. And so the higher we can kind of raise the platform, the higher they can jump as they make their jumps. And so that part is really fun. I have learned that I enjoy, in many regards, designing the business as much as I do designing the buildings. And I think that's been a fascinating discovery, and a fascinating kind of process, and really enjoying kind of that kind of process. And then I would say on the other frame, I think you're always trying to understand, so where the world is going to kind of move next, and how that affects, what are the big, so like from that firm structure, we feel really kind of core and central to our base. I think the challenges are, obviously, we've lived in recently a very, this post-pandemic environment has been extremely inflationary. And that puts a lot of kind of constraint on it. I think we live in an industry that is very cyclical, and it kind of ebbs and flows. And I think, as we've seen, not only inflationary pieces, but the impact on, using the debt and interest marketplace to try to curb some of that inflation, produces kind of certain kind of starts and stops and inefficiencies in the building process. And so, again, just trying to understand how we can better communicate and advocate for our clients to kind of make the best decisions in kind of a evolving kind of marketplace is difficult. And I am you know I am I love letting things evolve and progress. But I think I think on the horizon, we're going to better understand the way AI is going to impact our industry. And I think we have certain kind of pieces around, look, I think there'll be ideas around the need to um, create an idea, the ability to edit an idea, the ability to kind of be in relationship with clients, to understand kind of the unique environments in which those projects are built, and those relationship environments. The ability to kind of write the right queries and do those kind of things are going to be very important in this enhanced technology kind of world. But some of the tools, some of the production, some of those kind of things are going to evolve, and they're going to change. And I don't view this change as particularly different than, we went from hand drafting all of our drawing sets, and quite frankly, we did that for hundreds of years in various forms. And then we went into CAD, computer automated drafting. And I think there were concerns around what CAD was going to do. And I'm sure, some of them can be manifested and some of them are probably unfounded, but it's just a change, and people always struggle with change. And so we went into CAD, and then, CAD kind of started to evolve into what we in the industry call BIM, building information modeling. And so changing from drawing a line on paper to a line on the computer to drawing a line with properties now on the computer. So that line is now a wall, and that wall has properties. Well, it's going to be evolutionary when you think about AI and the next piece, where that wall is going to be produced faster with more ability to tie it to properties and production and everything else. And so we're going to see a significant change in that. But I think anytime you are a communicator, a creator, an editor, I think there's kind of great value, great worth. And so you just have to understand, like, how to utilize the efficiencies and how to do it on behalf of your projects and your clients.
Right. So, do you foresee AI taking the place of architecture? Is that too?
No, but I do think it will. I do think the industry will change significantly. I mean, if we were to go back, 75 years ago, we would have seen a floor of draftsmen drawing on a project. And then with CAD, we were able to kind of, again, produce, create some of that repetition kind of more efficiently, and really kind of focus on where those kind of pieces are. I think it's a challenge for us as architects, and us as people who hopefully want to have a positive impact on the built environment, to not let those things kind of water down and say, well, just because we can produce a lot of it now, let's make sure we're producing it with a why, with a purpose. What are we doing? What are we drawing? Just because we can copy it a bunch of times doesn't mean it's good. Let's make sure it's good, and then go from there. So, my hope is actually very optimistic with AI, is that, some of the things that are, repeated, unconsidered, and aren't kind of done. I hope it brings the opportunity for, quite frankly, more design and more consideration of the built environment. And just like we're seeing, just like we talked about, on our phones, we're able to travel the world through Instagram and see more kind of places. It hasn't really curbed the desire for travel, but it has elevated people's expectations of where they want to stay, where they want to eat, when they travel, what they want to experience, how they want to experience that broader world. I don't view AI as being any different. I think that as we understand it, I hope that the additional kind of tools and visualization and resources that are available to us will only push us further into wanting design to be more meaningful and more impactful in our day-to-day lives. So no, I think it actually enhances the importance of architects.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great perspective, because technology by its nature has made it easier and more abundant for, what was a luxury for only the filthy rich to then be enjoyed by more and more of the less fortunate people. And if that's the landscape against which, the architectural world could unfold, then it means opening up creativity to a lot more people
Mhm.
in the long run. So I think I agree with you.
I mean, think about think about what it used to be involved to have a book.
Mhm.
We would have scribes, and you think about the monastic scribes, they would be repeating, you know, very few works and trying to kind of repeat them and kind of and do it. And then you kind of create the printing press and the ability to kind of like mass distribute kind of those kind of pieces. Well, it also freed up more time to create more great works of literature and the things like that. And so, those stories were out there. They were maybe told through the oral tradition or other ways, but in terms of being able to produce into the written tradition, it's like, well, how much greater is that now with the way we have continued to go on from the scribe to the printing press to the lightning press and to all these other kind of pieces with the way we can kind of produce and write books. I mean, I don't think it's any doubt that because of that, we've also seen all of the other rapid evolutions in thought and technology and dialogue is because we're able to, better in that way, we're better able to all of the power in the human mind that we all possess and apply, we're better able to kind of like put it out into this broader kind of world and that we're all part of share of. And I think we've only kind of progressed faster and we've only had potential for better thoughts and better ideas and better pieces. And so I don't view it as any kind of different than any of these kind of great technologies that allowed us to better enhance and better build on kind of the human mind, the great creation in the world.
Right, right. It's no different. Anytime any other architect or design, technological breakthrough has hit the world, there's always been hesitancy and everybody worried about, oh, it's going to do away with my job. My whole future's gone, and that's not been the case at all. So I completely agree with you and it would be interesting to watch, what kind of effect it will have everywhere. So. Yeah, I'm in the same camp with you and excited to see it come. But so, Jamie, it's been fantastic having you on the show and enjoying this conversation with you and enlightening our viewers into a little bit more under the cover look at the architectural world, understanding where you are. And congratulations on your business. That's just fantastic. In 15 years, you guys have gotten to this stage. You're obviously doing something well, and it sounds like you've kind of figured out the recipe.
Great. I'm not sure, but we enjoy what we do every day, so we're getting better at it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Jamie, we'll talk to you again soon, and appreciate your being a guest.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.